All right, good morning, students. This is our last week of classes, so I'm glad you guys have made it. We're here. The plan for today is to begin the review process to get you guys ready for CASAS testing next week. So I'm going to go over the announcements. As I'm going over the announcements, there is an exit ticket, I believe, in the week 11 folder in your class you guys could be working on as I go over that, or you can just be thinking about what questions you still have and what do you need to review. This is your last chance to review with me before CASAS testing. And so we'll go over that. We'll also talk a little bit about GED preparation in general for those of you who are going to take that test. So we'll just have a little conversation about that as well. And so we are, first of all, going to start, of course, like I said, with the announcements. Okay, so CASAS testing is next week. You guys should receive an email and or a phone call about your day and time, just so you know. I also have it for you, so I will tell you right now what day you're scheduled for if you're scheduled. Remember that some of you might not have enough hours to be scheduled for CASAS testing because you're only in one class. So it could be that you do not have enough hours to CASAS test, so that's okay. Don't worry about that. Um, it just means that you just won't be CASAS testing, which is fine, especially if those of you who only have one test left for the GED, it's okay, you'll just test another time, or you will pass your GED and you won't have to test at all. Okay, so let me go in and look at the schedule for testing, just so I can tell everybody and remind everybody what their day is. But I do believe that for Miriam, you are going to be on Monday. Yes, because it's alphabetical order. So I'm pretty sure that, yes, Miriam, you are on Monday. So that means you need to report to Ward 8 on Monday at 9:30 a.m. for CASAS testing. Okay, and it's gonna, okay, yeah, good. And let's look at Tuesday. So Tuesday, Shell, you are scheduled for Tuesday, so make sure you're going in Tuesday at 9:30 for CASAS testing. And I don't believe that you're scheduled, Antoinette. You probably don't have enough hours to test, but again, not a big deal. You don't have to test because you're going to hopefully test either next time or test or not have to test at all because you'll pass your GED. All right, but Antoinette, you're not currently on the schedule for testing. No, not tomorrow, next week, Tisha. Next week, Tuesday, the 15th. CASAS testing is next week. So the 14th for Miriam, so that's Monday, the 15th for Tishal, that is Tuesday. Report at 9:30 so that you guys are there on time and ready for testing. All right, there is going to be a makeup day, which will be that Thursday, the 17th. So if you have some sort of emergency or something that pops up and you can't make it on your assigned day, the one day that will be available is that Thursday for makeup testing. But we're trying to get all the testing done on Monday and Tuesday. There aren't a lot of students to schedule, so that should work out. And the goal is to make sure that you are taking that test. So remember, Tishal, that you should only be taking your math test. So if somebody is there and doesn't know that, just let them know that you've passed the other GED exams and you're only taking math. All right, so that's CASAS testing. Let's see, let me make sure I do all of our announcements. All right. All right, always check the homeroom still for more announcements and things. CASAS testing as well. Oh, Jules, now that you're on, you are CASAS testing next week, Monday at 9:30 a.m. Make sure you report at 9:30 a.m. next week, Monday for CASAS testing. That's your data test is next week, Monday. Okay. Announcements are also posted in the homeroom. Make sure you're always checking the homeroom course for announcements. Trivia, there's going to be 3 chances apparently to win for trivia this week. Congratulations to our winners from last week, which include Tishelle Perry. So Tishelle, you won again. So you'll be getting another gift card. I'm not sure how those deliveries are going, but I'm sure they'll contact you about that. Okay. And that is it. Those are all the main announcements. So now that I've covered, so how do I simplify an expression with more than one variable? Make sure you're in the week 11 folder for Math Skills 5. We're going to try to answer this question. All right, we have a PDF that I'm going to pull up. So we're combining like terms, right? Or we're trying to remember how to combine like terms. So we have groups of pineapples and apples. Represent each pineapple below with a P and each apple with an A. Write 2 expressions that you would use to determine the total numbers of pineapples and the total numbers of apples. So how would you write the total numbers of pineapples and the total numbers of apples? How would you express them? If you have P for pineapple, A for apple, what would your expressions look like? Okay, so I see P equals 3, but P equals 3 isn't really an expression, right? That's an equation, but it doesn't tell me what I have. You don't need to write on the page, right? It's not this PDF you shouldn't write on. If you want to write an answer in, you should write it into the discussion post, right? So write it on the post, not on the PDF. But again, an equation is not an expression. Remember, an expression doesn't have an equal sign. So what expression would you use to describe what you have here? You have pineapples, but they're in different groups. You have apples, and they're in different groups. How do you write that expression? Right, so you need to use the tools that we've learned before. You're writing an expression, not an equation. So P equals 3 tells me that I have 3 pineapples, but what's a different way to tell me I have 3 pineapples? Using an expression. Remember, look at the groups. I have 2 groups of pineapples, so how would you group them together? I have 3 groups of apples. How would you group them together?
So Mr. G, the answer would be, because I know I can't get in the page like that, so I have to go after what I'm seeing on the screen now. So it would be P to the 2nd power or 3 powers.
So you don't have to use a power, right? How do we represent that I have 2 pineapples? What's the best way to represent that I have 2 pineapples? What would I write?
2P.
That's it, 2P, right? Not P to the 2nd power, right? Just 2P. Okay, and how do I represent that I have 1 pineapple?
Just P.
Okay, so that expression, right? If I wanted to write that expression, it would be P plus 2P. Right? Just the expression, because we're not looking for an equation. So I could write, and I'll just zoom in here so you guys can see what I'm writing. But if I write P because I have a pineapple by itself plus, excuse me, plus 2p. That's my expression, right? It tells me that I have two different groups of pineapples, one that's by itself and one that's a group of two. So I have 2 plus 2p. That's one expression. How would I describe my apples? What's happening with my apples? How many apples do I have? How many groups of apples do I have?
Three groups.
Yeah, you have 3 groups. Good. So A plus 2A plus 3A. Good. Exactly, right?
Oh,
That's what we're looking for. We're looking for the groups, right? So A plus 2A plus 3A, right? This is my expression, right? I have 1 apple in this group, I have 2 apples in this group, and I have 3 apples in this group, right? So if I were to write 2 different expressions that deals with each of my variables, I have 2p plus 2p and A plus 2A plus 3A, right? Those are my groups, and those are the expressions that I could use to represent those groups. Okay. All right, and they are like terms, right? So they've all been combined together into the like terms, into the categories where they are the same. So think about that, keep that in mind as we work through these like terms, right? This is just kind of a representation of what we were doing last week. Just another idea, another way to look at it, okay? Good, all right. So now I have this exit ticket that's going to go over the same idea. I'm going to test our skills. So this one we can write on. This one will be a Kami document. Okay, so again, we're combining like terms. So here we have all x's, and the expression says 12x minus 10x plus 4x minus 2x. So if we combine all of the like terms, what are we going to end up with? 6x, 38x, 8x, or 4x?
4x.
4x, right? Because 12 minus 10
2.
will give me 2. 2 plus 4 gives me 6. 6 minus 2 will give me 4. So that's correct. I will end up with 4x. Huh. It's too thick. Undo that. $4x. All right. How about this next one here? It says simplify. So that means whenever I see the word simplify, I need to understand that it's telling me to do the exact same thing as combine, right? So I'm going to find anything that's alike, and I'm going to put it together, right? Anything that's alike, I'll put together. Anything that's not alike, I'll keep it separate. So what's going to be the answer for number 2? After you combine the things that are alike, what are you going to be left with?
Five n squared.
Okay, 5n squared
Plus square.
plus what?
Plus 6n.
Plus 6n
Plus 13.
plus 13. Okay, how did you get 6n? What did you do?
13n minus 7n.
Good. 13n minus 7n is going to give you 6n's. All right. And then 4 plus 9 is going to give you 13. Right. And then the 5n squared, there's nothing to combine it with. So we just bring it down. So we have 5n squared plus 6n plus 13. All right, any questions about number 2? Okay.
Hey, Mr. G.
Yep.
Is that something similar to like what we got in our notes?
This is exactly what we have in our notes.
Oh, okay. I was just making sure.
Yeah, so when we're combining like terms, right, we're just looking for the things that are the same and we're putting them together. Right?
Okay.
Good. All right, any other questions about that one? All righty. Let's take a look at the next one, number 3. Which expression is equivalent to 7a plus 2a plus 7 minus 2 minus a? So again, we're going to combine all the things that are the same. So if I'm looking at this expression, I have 7a plus 2a minus a. I'm going to combine those 3 to figure out how many a's I have. And then I'm going to combine 7 minus 2 to figure out how many numbers without a's I have. So which one is going to be my answer? A, B, C, or D? No, I have an answer. Let's see. Answer is D. Very good, Miriam, right? So 7 plus 2 gives me 9 A's. 9 minus 1 gives me 8. So it's 8A. 7 minus 2 is 5. So the only answer that works is letter D. Okay. If I just do the 7 minus 2, I should be able to eliminate A, B, and C because this is a positive 5. So I should be able to eliminate all of those answers just by doing this part right here. Right? So then the only possible answer that's left is D. All right, what about number 4? It says the side length of a square is x plus 1. Write an expression that is equivalent to the perimeter of the square. So how do we find the perimeter of a square? That's the first question. How do you find the perimeter of a square? What do you have to do to find the perimeter of a square?
You have to times it by the amount of sides the square have.
So how many sides does a square have?
4.
Okay, so I can do something as simple as 4 times x plus 1, right? That would be enough. That's enough as the expression, right? I can just do 4 times x plus 1, right? Okay, so what's another way to find the perimeter besides multiplication? What's the other way to find the perimeter? Anybody else? What's another way to find the perimeter of a square?
To find the perimeter, you can say x plus 1 plus x plus 1 plus x plus 1 plus x plus 1 4 times.
Very good. Excellent. Yeah, so that's the other way to do it, is to do x plus 1 4 times. Fantastic. Okay, so I can do x plus 1 again, plus x plus 1 one more time. This is what I can do. And when I combine all of those x's, I have 4 x's plus 4. So this is the other way to do that. So either one is going to be perfect, right? You can do 4 times x plus 1 or 4x plus 4, and all you did to get that was add x plus 1 4 times. This is obviously a lot more work, right? But the idea is that you need to understand what perimeter means. Perimeter means everything on the outside. If it's a square, all of the sides are 4 plus 1, or x plus 1. So then you just have to multiply it by 4, as Miriam says, right? That's the easiest thing to do. And remember, they don't want the answer, they just want the expression. So this counts as an expression, right? You can leave it just like that. Or you have to count up x plus 1 4 times, and then you need to combine all of your x's. You have 4 x's. Combine all of your 1's. You have 4 1's. So 4x plus 4. Notice that Miriam's expression and this expression are the same, right? Because when she distributes, she's going to get 4 times x, which is 4x, 4 times 1, which is 4. Okay, so both of them are the same. We have this answer or this answer. They're the same answer, but this is how you find the perimeter of the square. All right, good. All right, any questions about combining like terms? Combining like terms was the last thing that we went over as a group, right? We talked about expressions, equations, and inequalities just to define them, and then combining like terms, which is the first step in solving equations, right? Is to combine the things that we have together, the things that are the same, combining them together. That's our first step. Any questions with combining like terms? Okay, very good. No questions.
Hey,
Let's go.
Mr. D,
Hey, Antoinette.
this going to be the same thing on my test, right?
What do you mean? What is the question you're asking?
Question's gonna be on it, Antoinette.
Yeah. Like,
These
we'll
from
be
the test, but you might see 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is that a bad thing or a good thing, Antoinette? I don't know if what you mean.
It's a good thing because I
Oh.
already know the answers.
So, Mr. G, when she's finished, I got one question.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so number 1, Mr. G, I'm like, normally we will group it, but because they're all X's, they're all like terms, you don't need to group it. You just continue the maths right across the board.
I mean, it doesn't matter. So I guess your question is really like, does it matter what order I do it in, right?
Right, because I did it in the other order and still got the
Yeah. So it's exactly, it's not going to matter. So whatever you do is you're still going to get the same. If you start in the middle and you're like, well, 10 plus 4 is 14, you're still going to end up with 4. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, you're still going to end up with 4. Okay. Any other questions?
Oh Lord, I'm thinking that I pressed the button. Sorry.
Okay.
For me, my understanding of all of this with the like terms, Mr. G, is that the plus sign and the takeaway sign is what counts in front of the number. Like for
Absolutely.
instance, takeaway 10 always carry the number that is in front of it when you're doing the actual math.
Yes, ma'am. You must do that. Yep. Right. You must. Because essentially that's telling you that this 10 is not a positive 10, it's a negative 10. So I shouldn't get 14, I should get negative 6, right? Yeah.
Yes, and like the 12, Mr. G, it's obvious the 12 is a positive.
Correct, right, because there's no sign in front of it.
Right.
Good. All right, any other questions about combining like terms? Okay, any questions in general? What things do we need to go over again that we've already seen this term? If you don't have immediate questions, that's okay. I have an activity that will spark some ideas. Okay, I don't think there are any immediate questions, which is okay. That's totally fine. What I do have here is a CASAS practice assessment. So this assessment has 21 questions, and they cover all the things that we've gone over this term. It is timed, but it has, I think there's plenty of enough time for you to do all the questions. So take your time and try to answer each question to the best of your ability. That doesn't mean you need to do this right now, but you should sit down when you have an hour to dedicate to going over this and do it. When you do this practice, you have 2 chances to do this practice. So what I suggest is before Wednesday, before class on Wednesday, that you sit down and take this practice test. When you take this practice test, the ones that are not fill in the blank, you will be able to immediately see what the correct answer is. After you finish the test, it will tell you what the correct answers are. And then if you give me a chance, I can go in and grade it, and you'll get a chance to review it and see what the correct answers are. The goal is that it can be used as a teaching tool for you so you can see what you did right and what you did incorrectly, but it also gives you a chance to tell you what you need to study more, right? If you did not get it correct, the goal should be for you to go back and review that topic, review that area, ask me questions on Wednesday about that topic or that area, and then you have another chance whenever you want to, after Wednesday, to go back and take the test again to see if you learned it or if you have improved, right? So that's the goal of this practice test, is for you to be able to do that, right? To take the time that you need to take to review and to answer questions, to get some questions answered about what it is that you need to be working on to prepare yourself for your CASAS test, right? So that is going to be the goal, all right? So I can give you guys time to do that now, which means that I can just end the class early if there's no more questions, and you guys can just go ahead and go do that. Or you guys can just keep me on asking me questions about things that you want to review. So just let me know. What is it you guys want to work on? What questions do you have? This week is all about getting you guys ready for this test. I'm done teaching, right? I've already taught everything, but I can reteach whatever you guys want me to reteach.
Okay, my question, Mr. G, is the principal, the rate, and the time. I don't think I fully.
Okay, so you want to go back over some more simple interest stuff? Yes, we can do that.
Mom, put your bags on. I'm sorry, Mr. G.
Oh, Lord. So simple interest.
Yeah, that's the same thing I had problems with too, Mr. G, the rates.
Okay, so if you guys want to, you guys can just follow along, or you can go to week 9, the week 9 folder.
Week 9.
And if you go to practice number 3, simple interest,
All of that.
that is what I'm going to go over right now with Miriam to help her with the questions that she has about simple interest. All right, so I'm in practice number 3 in week number 9.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to open it with Cami, and we're going to go over these problems together.
Is it China? Eat your food.
All right, so first things first, in order to be able to do these problems, we need to remember what the simple interest formula is. So who can tell me what the simple interest formula is?
I think it's PRT.
Yeah, so interest is equal to PRT.
You miss the interest, okay.
Yep. interest is equal to PRT. And what is the P for?
Principal.
Good. And your principal is just your starting balance, right? That's another way to think of it, is where you're starting. That's your starting balance. What is the R?
Rate.
Okay, your rate. And remember, you're always going to use the decimal version, right? Never the percent. You always want to turn it into a decimal. And what's the T?
It's a term.
Time.
Time.
Yeah, or term. Like you would understand that as term in British or Jamaican English. They would say term as well. But time. And remember that your time is always in years. So if you're not given the time in years, you have to convert it to years. You only use years in this equation, okay? Always, always, always years. Okay. So let's look now at question number 1. It says, your generous uncle gives you $500 for earning straight A's throughout middle school. You deposit the money in a savings account. The account earns 3% simple interest. I'm sorry?
Somebody just text asking something. I think you need to answer before you finish this.
Yeah, so this is in week 9, Tishelle. Yeah, Tishelle, this is week 9, practice number 3. This is what we're working on. And no, I can't hear you at all. I'm sorry. You're going to have to only communicate via the chat. We're not going to be able to hear your beautiful voice today. I'm sorry, Tisha. Okay. All right, so we have that information that they're giving us in number 1. And for problem number A, it asks us, what is the interest earned after 4 years? So they're asking us to find the interest, right? We don't know what the interest is. They're asking us to find the interest. So we have to use our equation, the I is equal to PRT equation, to figure out our interest. So what is our principal? According to number 1, what is our principal? What's the money that we're starting with? How much money are we starting with?
$500.
Okay, 500. What is the rate?
3%.
3%. So how do we write that as a decimal?
0.03, I think.
That's perfect. Yes, 0.03. That's my rate.
where I'm getting it wrong, Mr. G. Because I probably be working out with I would just write the 3 instead of the 0.03 instead of changing it over to the
Always, always, always use that decimal. Yes, that is something that throws people off a lot. Yes, always make sure you use your decimal. Okay, and it says that our time is 4 years. Okay, so I'm just going to put it into my equation just like that. So my I is equal to 500 times 0.03 times 4. Okay, I can do this by hand or I can put it in a calculator. But 0.03 times 4, I should know what 3 times 4 is. That's 12. So when I do 0.03 times 4, it's still going to give me 0.12. Okay, and then 0.12 times 500 is the same thing as doing 12 times 5. So it's going to be 60. Okay. So your interest should be $60. Let me double check.
Oh, because Mr. G, because it's interest you're looking, that's the only time you say you go straight across. There's
Correct.
no really workout like you do the division.
Correct, exactly. That's it. Okay, so my interest is $60. Okay, any questions about how I got there?
So question again, Mr. G.
Mm-hmm.
You have to calculate the rate and the time first before we calculate, or could we calculate straight across and still ending up with the same answer?
Yeah, it's just like the same thing with the previous problem that we were looking at, right? This is multiplication, so it doesn't matter what order you do the multiplication in, you're going to end up with the same answer. I just did it that way because I know what 3 times 4 is, right? And I know, so that's going to give me 12. But I can also do 3 times 5 and get 15. 15 times 4 gives me 60. Or you can put it all into your calculator and calculate straight across. This is something that you can use your calculator for. Okay, now the second part of this question asks us, what is the balance after 4 years? How do I calculate the balance? And what does this word balance mean?
So would the balance be, Mr. G, like what you have left to pay?
If this was a loan, yes, but this is not a loan. This is a savings account, right? Because you can also earn interest on a savings account. You don't only have to pay interest, sometimes you earn interest. So in this case, what would balance be?
It would be 60 times 4, and then you add it to the 500.
So it wouldn't be, so almost, you're almost there. So the idea of the balance here is, now that I've earned that $60 in interest after 4 years, my balance is going to be
560.
Right, the interest plus the principal, right? So whenever you're looking for your balance, right, even if it's a balance that you're paying, your balance is going to be interest plus principal. Okay, your balance is always equal to interest plus principal. In this case, our interest is 60. The principal was 500. So my balance is $560. Okay, so problem number 2 follows number 1 exactly. It's the same exact steps. Be very careful with turning this percent, into a decimal, but try to calculate number 2. I'll give you guys 3 minutes to do number 2 on your own, and then we're going to come back and check the answer to make sure you guys are doing it correctly. All right, so do exactly what I did for number 1, right? Find your principal, your rate, your time, multiply all 3 numbers together. That'll give you your interest. Add your interest to your principal to get your balance. All right, I'll give you 3 minutes of quiet time to do that, and then I'll check back in. Okay, so Tashelle, that's looking good. Miriam, I think your numbers are a little too big. So maybe your decimal might be off somewhere. But let's take a look at what we have. So we have our principal is 1,800. Our rate is 0.065. Right, and we have to go over 2 times to the left. And your time is 12 years. Yeah, so to show maybe you were off by a decimal as well, or maybe you put it in your chat wrong, I'm not sure. But when you calculate your interest, you're making sure that you're using those numbers. So your interest is going to be equal to 1,800 times 0.065 times 12. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you were off by a couple decimals then, Miriam. Yeah, so Jules, yeah, that's correct. Okay, so your interest is $1,404, right? And then your balance is going to be interest plus principal. So it's going to be 1,404 plus 1,800, which is going to give you, as Jules says, the $3,204. Okay. Be very careful, like I said before I let you guys release you guys to do this. It's always 2 decimal places to the left. So 1, 2, right? So it's 0.065. As you can see from what we got before we move that decimal, your number is going to be way too big, okay? If you are ever earning $14,000 in interest when you started off with only 1,800, tell me what bank it is, number one. But number two, maybe go back and check that calculation, okay? It's probably not gonna be right. You're not gonna get $14,000 on an $1,800 investment, okay? All right, let's try another one. We're gonna keep going. I'm gonna go down to number 3. All right, so you borrowed $250 from a payday lender. The simple interest rate is 36%, right? This is what these people charge us, right? They give you the money quickly. That's why they're able to do it this quickly because they charge you such a high interest rate, right? And you pay off the loan in 1 year, right? So how much interest do you pay for that loan? So again, we know we have to use this formula. I is equal to PRT. Our P is 250. Our rate is 0.36 because they're ripping us off. And our T is equal to 1. So we're going to put all that information into our formula. And so essentially we're going to have 250 times 0.36 because we don't need to multiply anything by 1. So 250 times 0.36 is going to be $90 of interest. And then our balance, or how much we're going to pay for the whole loan, right, which is essentially just our balance, is going to be the interest plus the principal. So it's $90 plus $250. So in total, we're going to pay $340, right? Because we really needed that $250, we're actually going to end up paying $340. All right, so here's your chance to try it again. So try it again with number 4. I'm going to give you guys a couple minutes this time to try number 4, and then we will see if we still need to continue to do more. So go ahead and try number 4. Good. Yes. Good job, Miriam. Yes, that is your interest. Okay, so again, interest is going to be equal to our principal, which is $16.75, times our rate, which is 0.046, times 4. Remember, Tishal, you have to change the percent to a decimal. So you got to go 2 places to the left. So it's 0.046, not 4.6. And then when you do that, you're going to get $308.20 as your interest. Right, good. And then when you get your balance, very good, Jules and Miriam, you're going to take your interest and add it to your principal. So 308.20 plus the 16.75, and you're going to get the $1,983.20.
G, I'm understanding it now because I see where I was going wrong with it. It was with the percentage, as I said before, changing it over to the decimal. But then when you're doing the decimal, I have to remind myself that it's 2, you move the decimal 2 places to the left.
Very good. Yeah. Good. All right, good. I'm glad that you're seeing that now. Let's see if there's any other examples down here that are a little bit different. Okay, good. So let's look at number 9 now, because these are a little bit different. Okay, so before we were just finding the interest. Now we're going to use the same formula to find different parts. So in number 9, we're going to be looking for the rate, right? We don't have the rate, so we're going to be looking for that. And in number 10, you guys are going to be looking for the time. So we're going to try number 9 together, and then I'm going to release you guys to try to do number 10 on your own. But again, we're going to start with the same formula. I is equal to PRT. Okay, we're going to start with that base formula, then we're going to change it. So can you find the interest rate? So you put $400 into a savings account, The account earns $24 in simple interest in 2 years. What is the annual interest rate? So I'm looking for the rate. So remember, I'm starting with this formula, I is equal to PRT, but I don't need to find the I need to find the R. So all I need to do is change this formula so that I have R equals. And that means I need to get rid of the P and the T. So my formula is going to be R is equal to interest divided by PT. Okay, all I did was divide both sides by PT, right? And that leaves the R by itself. So whatever you're looking for, if it's not interest, it's going to be interest divided by the other two variables. In this case, R is equal to interest divided by PT. All right, what is my interest? How much interest did I earn?
24.
$24. So my I is 24. What's my principal?
400.
400. And what's the time?
2.
2 years. So I'm going to put that into my formula. So R is equal to 24 divided by 400 times 2. I know that 400 times 2 is 800. So I have 24 divided by 800. That's going to give me my rate. I'm going to just put that into my calculator, 24 divided by 800. And I'm going to get my rate is going to be 0.03, right? Which is fine. I can leave it as the decimal, or if I want to turn it into a percent, it would be 3%. 24 divided by 800 should give you 0.03.
I think I did it the wrong way. I divided the 24 into the 800, but I should have divided the 800 in the 24.
Correct. Yeah. Write it the way that you see it. So 24, then divided by 800. 24 divided by 800. So it's 3%. Okay. All right. So now for number 10, you guys are going to do a very similar thing. You're going to start with that same formula, I is equal to PRT. But you're going to change it to T equals. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. You should be able how to figure it out. But you put $500 into a savings account. So your principal is 500, right? With a simple interest rate of 3%. So you're going to use that 3%. Of course, you're going to turn it into a decimal. You should know how to turn 3% into a decimal. And your interest is $30, right? So you have all the parts. So make sure you figure out your equation, put your parts in, and tell me how much time is it going to take you to earn that interest. Again, I'm just going to give you guys 2 minutes to work on that on your own, and I will check back in. Okay, so I don't need the answer yet, but what did you guys get for the equation? T is equal to what?
Two.
Well, I don't want the answer. What is the equation? T is equal to? I divided by PR. That's my equation. Okay, so if I put that in, I should be able to figure out what my T is. So T is equal to 30 divided by 500 times 0.03, which is 30 divided by 15, which is 2. So it's 2 years is what my T is equal to. All right. So we did about 6 questions on this 10 problem practice. If you still need more practice with it, finish the practice, right? Again, this is practice number 3 in week number 9. So you can go ahead and finish that. Are there any other immediate questions I can answer right now before go ahead.
On the test, right, they had some rates and ratios. I was having a problem with those.
On which test? On the practice test that you just took?
Yes.
Okay.
Like they had questions like, you know, like with the scale, with the X and the, you know, with the scale, and then it'll tell you, it'll ask you what line is pointing to X and negative X and negative Y. You know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely not.
Oh, it's a scale, right?
Okay.
And on the side, it'll have numbers, but in the middle, it will have X and Y.
Okay.
And then they had problems with rates and ratios. I was having problems with the rates and ratios.
Okay, so these are 2 separate problems?
Yes.
Okay, so the first problem you're saying is that you have to use the scale and do what?
You have to use the scale. They'll ask you what is X. Like it'll say, John went to the store and got 10 apples. How many percentages of apples did he use? It's like that. I can't explain it because it's on the test.
Okay, but yeah, but I don't understand what you're describing because I don't understand what kind of question it is, right? It's like I don't understand if they're asking you to identify like how to read a scale, which is what you're saying to me.
Like a graph.
Okay.
It's like a graph.
It's like a graph, okay.
Yes. And they was asking you like the percentage of the graph.
That you're not, yeah, that doesn't help. It doesn't help me, right? Like
I can't explain it. It was
okay.
Never mind, Mr. G, because I can't explain it.
Okay.
It had percentages on the graph.
Okay.
And at the bottom, it'll say like
what kind of graph are we talking about? Like a circle graph?
I'm about to show you. It looked like this. Like this. Like that.
Okay, so and then the question was what? What was the question?
It was a question asking you like you had the mark on the graph of what the percentage was. Like it was 1, 2, it was a graph going from 1 to 10.
Okay.
And then it would ask you how many apples did John get? Wait, China, how many apples did John get? And then it'll tell you to draw on the graph.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure that that's a rate question. That's a reading graphs question. So we can talk about that. And what was the other kind of question?
And then when we worked in class, when we worked on the rates and ratios, I was having a little bit problems with it. And I was saying if you could go to the rates and ratios.
So, Mr. G, one more question before you come off this. Just a simple question. What if they were asking for the principal? Would I put the principal on top and divide the other rest as multiply the interest by the rate to divide into the principal?
No, because the interest is always going to be the one that's by itself. So it's always going to be the one that's on top. And then the other variables will be under it. So if you're looking for principal, right, it'd be the same idea. It says you always start off with this equation, I equals a PRT, right? If you want the P by itself, what do you have to do? because the P is not by itself right now. You just have to divide away the R and the T, right? Which means it's still going to be I on top and then the other two variables under it. So P is equal to I divided by RT. But interest is always going to be on top. No matter what other variable you're looking for, interest is always on top.
So I would multiply, when I do all of that, I would multiply the P by whatever answer I get to find out the.
Nope. What are you doing? It's just I divided by R over T. So what are you multiplying? Just the R and the T.
Just the rate and the time.
And you're dividing the interest by the rate and the time. Yeah.
Okay, and ending up with the principal. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, so let me look in our folder for rate and time questions, ratio and rate questions. Let's see when we covered that. So if we go back into our folder, we did ratios and rates in week 7. So let's take a look at, let's do practice number 3, because none of you did practice number 3. So let's look at it. All right, so this is just another document on calculating unit rates. So we're going to do a couple of these where we are just learning how to use the proportion to calculate our unit rates. Remember, you don't have to use a proportion to calculate a unit rate, but you can, because it's just either just a division problem, or you can cross multiply, right? So here, when we cross multiply, we do 90 times 1. We're going to get 90, right? 3 times x, we get 3x. And now how do I solve this problem? When I have 3x is equal to 90, the last step is going to be to divide both sides by 3 to give me 90 divided by 3. What's 9 divided by 3? What's 9 divided by 3?
30.
Okay, so it's 30, right? Which is just 9 divided by 3 is 3, right? And you can't divide 0 by 3, it's just 0, you just keep it. So it's 30 points per game. So again, you don't need to do this part, right? You can just do 90 divided by 3 to get a unit rate. So whenever you're calculating a unit rate, you divide the first number by the second number. Always the first by the second. I'm not going to say bigger by smaller, because that's not always going to be the case. It's always the first number by the second number. So I can just divide 100 by 5. What's 100 divided by 5? It's just going to be $20 per hour. If I need the proportion, one second, if I need the proportion, right, then I can do 100 times 1, which is equal to 100. 5 times x is equal to 5x. To get the x by itself, I just have to divide both sides by 5. And again, 100 divided by 5 is 20. Yes, what's the question, Miriam?
Question was that, is this similar to the percentage formula that you was giving us, where you say?
It's exactly the same as the percentage formula, yep.
Okay, because I get the understanding of that, where once you know where the is supposed to be and the off and the percentage over the 100, then doing the math is easy.
Exactly. Yeah, so this is just the very simplified version of that. This is the first building block to learning how to do that, right? This was the week before we did the percentages. This was before we did percentages. How do you calculate a unit rate? You can use a proportion. You set up your proportion and then you just divide, right? So this was the week right before we did percentages, so that you can get that set up in your mind, and then I can build on it with the percents, right? This is right before the percents.
But I'm not sure I did week 3, Mr. G. Remember, I started class late because I was having that.
This is week 7. You were in class already, ma'am.
I don't remember this, Mr. G. I'm going to be honest.
I know, because nobody did this practice. Nobody did this one. This practice was practice number 3 from week 7. And you can see I have no submissions. That means nobody did it. I didn't receive work from a single one of y'all. This is the first week of November. So I don't know what people were, maybe people were tired that week or whatever, but nobody did this one. So this is how you calculate a unit rate. So again, unit rate is just division, okay? That's one example. And then we also have in the same folder, this again, just more work with rates and unit rates, just to go back over this really quickly. Again, this is unit rates, which is the same thing we just saw. All right, let's do this definition question here at the end. Which of the following is not an example of a rate? So what's the difference between a rate and a ratio? What is a rate and what is a ratio? Because we don't have a lot of time left, so I just want to ask this question to get us thinking. What is a rate and what is a
rate? Like per one?
So rates do use the word per, that's good. But it doesn't have to be per one. That per one would be a unit rate.
Right.
That's a unit rate. But rates do use the word per, that's good. That's a good thing. What else? What else tells us that a per is a rate? What else tells us that it's a rate besides using per? So we know that this is a rate, right? So that's not the example we're looking for.
The cost?
A cost would be an example of a rate. What does a cost tell you?
The price.
It tells you the price, right? But what is that? What does that mean? What is it showing to me? If I buy a bottle of bleach for 97 cents, what is it saying? What does that say about the bleach?
The cost of the bleach, that is number 97, the price.
The price, the what?
Per bottle.
The what?
Per bottle or per that
the price per bottle, right?
Yes.
Okay. Price per bottle. What happens if I buy a can of soda for 75 cents? What does that tell me?
Price per can.
Okay, good. So what's the difference? Price per bottle versus what about a ratio? What does a ratio look like?
The ratio would be, like you said, 2 for 1.
That's a price. That's a rate.
That's still a rate.
Ratio is about the same thing, I think.
What do you mean the same thing? Yes, you're on the right track. What do you mean by that, Jules?
What's the same thing is to.
I'm gonna make Jules use all of his English today in one sitting. He's gonna come off this call. He's gonna be like, I'm gonna speak French all day now because I have to use too much English. Come on, Jules, you can do it. What do you mean? What do you mean when you say same thing? Tell me more.
Okay, when I say same thing, that means a ratio. That means ratio compare this to same thing. I don't.
Okay, almost with that. Yes. Okay, so I'm gonna help Jules. I'm gonna help you guys all out because this is what I want us to understand. A ratio compares two of the same units.
Oh, same unit, yes, same unit.
Okay, so when he says same things, that's what he means by same things. Two of the same units. What does that mean? That I'm gonna compare people to people, right? I'm gonna compare cups to cups. I'm gonna compare marbles to marbles. It doesn't matter, right? But it's the same unit. Okay, so I can say I have 5 purple marbles and 6 blue marbles. It's still marbles to marbles, even though they're different colors, right? They're still the same unit. But when I'm talking about a rate, I'm comparing 2 different units, right? A price is different than a bottle. A price is different from a can. A beat is different from a minute. right? These are two different units. They can never be the same. No matter how many times I compare them, they're always going to be different. So which of the following is not an example of a rate? It would be the first one, because it's a ratio, because it's comparing cups to cups, right? This is a ratio. But the other three are comparing two different things. 16 ounces for $2, 8 inches for 12 hours, 12 beats for 1 minute, right? This is what a rate is. A rate compares two different units, while a ratio compares the same units, right? So I can compare people to people. You guys might argue that if I compare men to women, that they're not the same thing. You can argue with me all day about that. They're still a person. People to people, it is a ratio. But a rate is two different things. When you're comparing two different things, that's when you have a rate, okay? So we can go over some more specific questions. So Antoinette, maybe you can develop some more specific questions about rates and ratios on Wednesday, so I can give you guys some more information about rates and ratios. There is a ton of practice in that week 7 folder that you can review, as well as your notes. Please make sure that you do this CASAS practice test, right? Finish it, do the whole thing that's in the week 11 folder. Let me bring it back up again. It's in your week 11 folder, that CASAS practice. Do it, complete it one time by Wednesday, because it's going to help you think about what things you don't remember how to do. I cannot teach you everything, right? Between now and next week, it's impossible, right? But I can refresh your memory and show you where to go to kind of help yourself try to learn some more things. But I can't start from zero and give you knowledge today, right? Like this week is not for that. It's about refreshing your mind so you can go back and do the practice that you need to practice on. But there's no way that you're going to learn everything. That's not the goal of this week, right? Not to teach you everything. That was the goal of the whole term. So this is just about getting that refresher on things, that reminder of things that you might have forgotten, okay? So do work on that so you guys are better prepared. And that's what we're going to talk about on Wednesday, all right?
Okay.
Okay.
I'll see you at 3, Mr. G.
Yep, and I'll see you at 3. I'll send the invite out later, okay? All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right, y'all. I will see everybody on Wednesday.
Bye.
Bye-bye.